We have several on our prayer list tonight, Wednesday, May the 6th. Sympathy is extended to Sean Flatt and Casey Nichols in the passing of their mother, Judy Flatt. Sean and Casey attended Sycamore years ago, so many of you know them. They also have another sister, Kayla, and also Judy's husband, Dale. Many of y'all know this family and knew and loved and appreciate Miss Judy. Be praying for this family as they go through this difficult time. Sympathy is extended to Alberta Hall and the passing of her son, Tony Hall. He is also the brother of Sheila Barker and also the brother of Sharon Anderson. Many of y'all remember Sharon that attended here years ago, but be praying for Alberta and Sheila and Sharon as they go through this difficult time and the passing of Tony. Sympathy is also extended to Madge Huffines Reynolds and the passing of her husband, Rob Reynolds. Madge is the cousin of Judy Ferris. Sympathy is extended also to Jimmy Stewart and his family, the passing of his nephew, Ken Galloway. So as these families go through a difficult time and the loss of their loved one, please pray for strength and healing and peace during this time. Penny Sells, granddaughter of Louise Goodwin, has been diagnosed with cancer. She will be undergoing multiple tests. She lives in Smyrna. Tyler Ford, nephew of Tracy Mabry, did not receive a good report following his chemo treatments. He will be undergoing radiation treatment soon. Juanita Brown, mother of Melinda Brown, has been released from the hospital. Vernon Locke is battling some health concerns, and Bobby Locke is battling the shingles. So be praying for Vernon and Bobby this week. Jennifer Curtis, relative of Mabel Lee and Sandra Allen, has been taken off the ventilator. She still has a long road to recovery ahead. Anna Burgess is now at home. Debbie Cumby, still displaced from her home. If you'd like to take her a meal, you can call Mary Alice Thomas. Continue to remember all those that have ongoing health issues and those who are battling cancer. Remember those victims of the March tornado and those battling the COVID-19 virus. Certainly want to pray for our community and our country as we continue to go through this battling the virus. Pray for our leaders in our country. Pray for our elders as they make decisions for Sycamore to meet again soon. And we pray that will be soon. Other announcements we have to let you know about. The building cleanup day that we had scheduled for this Saturday has been postponed until May the 23rd. So we will give you more details about that day as the date gets closer. But again, that cleanup day scheduled for this Saturday has been postponed till May 23rd. We want to thank all those who have tuned in to the live streaming of our worship services and listened to the numerous Bible classes offered online. You are to be commended on not allowing anything to prohibit you from worshiping freely and continue to make strides and grow in your faith. As we continue these services, we are all looking forward to the day we can meet back at our building. Well, that day is coming soon. It may look different for a time, but seeing each other will be refreshing indeed. Remember our elders and pray for them as they are meeting concerning this time that we will meet and reconvene. And they'll be making a decision on this in the coming days regarding these plans. Please continue to pray about this time of transition for our church family. Thank you again for tuning in tonight. God bless you all.
Hey, good evening. I've got a short devotional thought here I'd like to share with you if you have just a few minutes. It comes from a passage in Matthew, chapter 21, and it's a very short story about a fig tree, verses 18 and 19. So let's take a look at that passage. And of course, this is about Jesus as he's traveling along the roadside. It says, "In the morning, as he was returning to the city, he became hungry. And seeing a fig tree by the wayside, he went to it and found nothing on it but only leaves. And he said to it, 'May no fruit ever come from you again.' And the fig tree withered at once." If Jesus came to us looking for fruit, would he be disappointed with what he finds? A good question for us as Christians is, do we bear fruit? And also, what kind of fruit do we bear? Just like a fig tree or an apple tree or an orange tree or any other kind of tree or bush that bears fruit, the produce that we bear tells who we are. Matthew chapter 7 and verse 18 says that a healthy tree cannot bear bad fruit, nor can a diseased tree bear good fruit. So not bearing fruit is not acceptable as a Christian, and bearing bad fruit is not acceptable as a Christian. So I think it's a very worthy question for us as Christians to look at what kind of fruit are we bearing, because it's eternally important. Matthew chapter 3 and verse 10, and also Matthew chapter 7 and verse 19 explains this in saying that every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. So that's pretty clear what the consequences are for not bearing the right kind of fruit. We're given many ways to improve our faith and deepen our faith and grow closer to God. We have the scriptures in its entirety that we can and should be studying. We should be reading daily. We should be meditating on the scriptures. We should be trying to learn more things and gain knowledge and wisdom. We have the avenue of prayer, thankfully, that we can pray daily throughout the day multiple times, where we can gain strength and share things that are on our heart. We have ways that we can be around other Christians and be encouraged by them. But, sometimes we're given ways that we can improve our faith and strengthen our faith, but we don't recognize that that's what it is. There's a passage that I think about in Luke, and that's in chapter 13 and verses 6 and 7. It says, "And he told this parable. A man had a fig tree planted in his vineyard, and he came seeking fruit on it and found none. And he said to the vine dresser, 'Look, for 3 years now I have come seeking fruit from this fig tree, and I find none. Cut it down. Why should it use up the ground?' And he answered him, 'Sir, let it alone this year also, until I dig around it and put on manure,'" or some versions say fertilizer. "Then if it should bear fruit next year, well and good. But if not, you can cut it down." Sometimes when we go through things in our lives that are not working the way we want them to, sometimes it's a fairly minor issue, but sometimes it's a very serious issue. When things around us are just not going well, our lives may be completely out of order. They may be in shambles, and it seems like we are just surrounded by manure, metaphorically. These are those times that God is giving us an opportunity to deepen our faith and increase our faith, and He's preparing us for bigger things to come. It's up to us how we respond to that opportunity to deepen our faith. One little side note about the passage in Matthew chapter 21 about the fig tree. It appears that the fig tree was by itself, because it says it was by the wayside. It doesn't mention any other fig trees. So if that's true, and it's not surrounded by a group of other fig trees, but it was still expected to bear fruit. So it's the same thing for us as Christians. We're expected to bear fruit whether we are with a group of people, whether we're involved in a ministry, whether we have people around us, encouraging us. Those are all good things, and they're helpful things, but it does not take that responsibility away from us to bear fruit just because we don't have other people around us. We're still expected to bear fruit. One term that I've heard a lot over the last few years is the saying, "You had one job." Well, that applies to us as Christians. Our job is to bear fruit. The fruit that we're supposed to bear, and this is a very well-known passage in Galatians 5, chapter 5, verses 22 and 23. "But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control." We're all very familiar with those things. And those things that we read there, those fruits, they encompass a lot of subcategories under those things in living as a Christian. And it's hard to do all those things, and sometimes we can get part of them and may not get all of them at one time, but it's something we need to continually be working on so we're bearing good fruit, the fruit of the Spirit. And also, Peter tells us in 2 Peter chapter 1, verses 5 through 11, how we develop as Christians in bearing fruit. So please read that passage. Again, that's 2 Peter chapter 1, verses 5 through 11. And that tells us how we can develop our faith and gain a better knowledge and more wisdom and more ability to bear fruit as Christians. To sum this up, we may be a nice, healthy-looking tree with a lot of nice green leaves and look really good, but if we aren't bearing good fruit by God's standards, we have work to do. Thank you for your time. I hope you have a good evening.